And something that is really important for you to know if you want to have a good life, if you don't want to be spending all of your energy fighting against the grain, is this concept of intrinsic motivation. So, I'm actually going to deep dive into the psychology of flow and into the psychology of intrinsic versus extrinsic in a different episode. But what I want to introduce to you today is this concept of the four pillars that are scientifically kind of proven to provide us with the good life when it comes to our work. So in order for us to enjoy our work, we need these four elements. One is autonomy. So we want to have, freedom to be able to do work the way that we want to. We don't want to have a boss micromanaging us, hunched over us, telling us how to do things, what to do, and I think that, a previous episode, we talked about social media. And I think that when we have that toxic relationship with social media, we lose and sacrifice a sense of our autonomy, which is why we can feel so sad and depressed and in disarray. So I want you to really think about autonomy and how you can create more autonomy for yourself, because you don't necessarily, have to be an entrepreneur or an artist or a freelancer to have autonomy. You can have a lot of autonomy in a job as an employee. And it really is about having healthy relationships with that organization, with your coworkers, where, they give you that level of freedom. And, maybe to you, you have a value for working remotely, working, location independently. And so maybe you don't have to go into the office at 9 a.m. every single day. Maybe there's a bit of flexibility where you do go in every day, but no one's watching the clock and, tapping their foot down and being like, hey, you were late, and like they're timing your bathroom breaks. I remember I had a job once where, they would, I used to work so much overtime, right? And I would work on weekends and they would be looking at me if I was 10 minutes late. And I was just like, guys, are we really counting the minutes? Like, I work easy 50 hours a week and you're getting upset about 10 minutes. Like maybe I should stop taking the 7 a.m. Saturday time to check the website for the client, right? Like, come on, what are we doing? This is madness. So, think about autonomy. Think about that level of you being able to do your own work when you want to do it, within the freedom and the scope of how you want to do it. That's really important. We need to have autonomy in order for us to feel happy and fulfilled about our work. Now, the second thing that we need is mastery. So this is where, we talk about flow states a little bit more, and there's a whole science to mastery. But essentially, we need to feel like we're good at something in order to really enjoy it. So this is why people get really obsessed with the conversation of like, well, what are my gifts and what's my genius? And can someone tell me what my genius is and what am I good at? And, we want to do things that we're good at. We want to work in areas where we naturally shine. We want to feel competent. We want to actually feel masterful. When we are good at something, we're spending our time engaging in that thing, and then we're recognized for being great at that, it's very, very fulfilling. We don't want to be doing something that is not a natural strength. Right? So there's two aspects of mastery. One is doing something that you're naturally good at. And the second is committing to becoming better at that thing. And so something that I regularly talk about is putting in the reps. I think that in today's culture, people are very lazy and people just think that they're going to get paid for like something that they're naturally good at. But you still need to commit 10,000 hours to doing something to become masterful at it, like I'm a naturally good writer. I'm a naturally good communicator, but I can tell you that I have spent hundreds upon hundreds, I don't know, maybe thousands of hours working on my ability to become a better writer, working on the craft of specifically writing email copy, writing sales pages, writing ad copy, writing content in different formats, in an essay format, in book format, like in social media posts. I've done professional speaker training. And when I did professional speaker training, I had a rude awakening and realized how hard it is to be a professional speaker. Like, there's a lot of practice that goes into that. And people that train for TED Talks train for 6 to 12 months in advance. If you are a professional speaker, you need to have the level of mastery where if you have, let's say, a 40-minute talk, that talk is broken down into smaller vignettes. And if you are at a conference or a seminar and they say, hey, we need to take your keynote, we need to adapt it into 25 minutes, you should be able to on the spot go, okay, cool. And then you know which vignettes to take out to adapt that 40-minute talk to 25. And you don't go over time. And that is the job of a professional speaker. You need to be able to engage in different audiences and see what they're responding to, and then to be able to add in or remove different vignettes based on, what that particular audience is finding most compelling. There is so much that goes into professional speaking. There's so much that you need to know about rhythm, intonation, pauses, dramatic effect. I'm a naturally good storyteller, and I can tell you that I considered a career in professional speaking, and maybe that is something that I would get into at some point, but it's not something that I can just pick up tomorrow, because I would need to commit at least 12 to 24 months, if not a lot more than that, to actually doing that properly, to become masterful at it, where I feel masterful or at least competent. So a really good reminder for everyone when it comes to mastery is that you still need to put in the reps. You might be good at something, but in order for you to become a genius at it, in order for you to really feel like, yep, this is my domain, you've got to practice. You've got to show up every day with that thing in order to feel the joy for it. So discipline is a road to joy. The third thing that is imperative in our quest for fulfilling work is the intrinsic motivation aspect. So we can either be intrinsically or extrinsically motivated. If we are extrinsically motivated, we are motivated for the outcome that we get from doing that thing. We are motivated by the reward. So that would be, for example, being motivated by money, or being motivated by audience growth or likes. Whereas if you are intrinsically motivated, you are motivated for the love of the thing itself. You are motivated by the progress of the thing. You're not looking for outcomes. You're essentially detached to outcomes, right? So it's like, if this podcast never gets any views, if it never goes viral, if it doesn't become a number one chart topping podcast, I really wouldn't care, because I'm so excited about showing up here and just recording these episodes. Like, I'm really genuinely having a great time. And so whenever you are engaging in work, it's really important that you're asking yourself why you are choosing this thing. What are you getting out of it? And for you to be really, really honest with yourself about your values and finding those bits of intrinsic inspiration where you are not attached to an outcome, where you don't need it to do something for you and you don't need to get something out of it, or there can be other things that you can get out of it, but you are essentially not relying on those outcomes in order to be happy with doing the thing. So when we have an extrinsic relationship with work and we're doing it purely to survive, and so we are doing it for money, then it can become really detrimental to our mental health, because essentially that starts to degrade and erode at our mental health and well-being.